Hey, hey. Hi, guys. Welcome back. All right, Virgos, I want to take a look at something related to time. And I say that because we've got, Big Ben behind me in our backdrop of London here. I loved this backdrop. There's a lot of different inspirations for storytelling on this. So right now we're going to focus on the clock tower in London. Doesn't have to be that this is related to anything in London. I happen to be half British, by the way. My father is from Bermondsey in London. So I've of course been through London and such. And I know this backdrop just shed so many inspirations. We've had the message inspired by the telephone. Now we're going to the tower, and then we'll go toward the bus toward the end of this week. Okay. But for starters, what is it that is like, this is kind of maybe more about divine timing or a sense of, what is the right time for Virgo to do X, Y, or Z, or what's happening around Virgo. Virgo, I actually already recorded a message and it's going to take time to process. So I'm recording you guys a different one right now. And we'll see this. The Nine of Sacred Circles says this one is more focused all about Virgo. Like Virgo has found their inner North Star. They wear this amulet. Virgo holds their their sacred rattle here, which says, I also control my own immediate environment and I have managed my own emotions, my feelings, my thoughts. I have mastered my own life, and I am with that star on this drum head that's hanging on the wall behind her. I am also able to listen to like my guides. So Virgo has reached this powerful place of like self-actualization. They listen to their guides, but they also know how to, exhibit their own free will and make good choices. This is a Virgo who totally accepts the responsibility of making their own choices in life. So this is the time for Virgo to really sit in their Empress energy. If they have not done that yet or haven't done it recently, it's like, oh, Virgo, acknowledge you are the full-blown Empress right now, Virgo. And you notice how she has this crystal ball. This is a terrific time for Virgo to say, okay, I realize my actions create my outcome. I control my destiny. So wait a second. What do I want? Because this is a great time to set our sights on what we want for the upcoming future with that crystal ball. Virgo, what is Virgo in Virgo's heart of hearts? What does Virgo really want? Virgo wants to deal with the devil head on. They once and for all, they either want to address something, they want to have a, the tough conversation that didn't happen before, they'd like to have it now. They want to be really happy. And that to them, at least in this fictional story, this Virgo says, the thing that would allow me to have my greatest happiness would be to either address something that happened a very long time ago, something that felt toxic, someone that I have felt connected to for a very long time in an unhappy way. Wow. Virgo says, I'd like to clear that energy out so then I can move forward with an emperor. Like maybe Virgo perceives that someone's energy is a stumbling block for them. Maybe because things ended badly. Maybe because there was harsh feelings. I'm not saying that this is like Virgo wishes that they could go say sorry to somebody or that Virgo wishes they could get back together with somebody per se. It's just Virgo says, what I really want is to face the devil head on and move beyond it. We'll ask in just a minute what that means, but we can see Virgo says, what I'm really ready for, long-term commitment with an amazing emperor. I so wish I was wearing my necklace. It looks so much like this, the emperor's bling. I'll try to wear that tomorrow. I'll definitely wear that tomorrow, actually. Virgos, in the collective message that I post tomorrow, I will be wearing my matching emperor bling. Just because I always crack up. I'm like, I had no idea that he and I shopped at the same stores, but we do. This looks like we have a Virgo who's saying, I'm at that point where I know that my future is my own. I acknowledge what I want to unblock or deal with or sweep out of the way so I can get to the real good stuff because I want that emperor. Okay, so tell me, what is it with the devil? What is it that you feel like you have to deal with when it comes to the devil? Seven of Swords. Somebody who lied, or did Virgo lie to themselves? Or is Virgo like, I just want to get some kind of a truth out? Virgo may have said to somebody, you know what? You don't love me. I don't love you. And Virgo might be saying, I know that wasn't true. And so that's I keep feeling like this is somebody from Virgo's past, possibly Capricorn, possibly Libra, Gemini, Aquarius, just because of the air energy, but then really strong on the Capricorn. Virgo says a storyline that occurred, and this could have been somewhere in, Virgo might have felt like really young, and I just say that because we have all the cherry blossoms, and that's very springtimey. Virgo might have said, I feel so much like I was so much younger then. Even if this was like 3 months ago, still Virgo's like, I was in such different energy. I felt like somebody had lied to me. I felt like they were toxic. I told myself that they didn't love me. I might have lied to them and said, and I don't love you. And that wasn't true. There was love, and that should have been acknowledged. There was also, Virgo might want to give an apology, even if they don't ever want to see this person again. Virgo's like, there is this thing that bothers me. It's the lies that were told about something as important as love, or how love should be, and that love should be humble. And if you love somebody, then maybe you shouldn't, have like great, huge fights and lies and all kinds of things. Maybe you shouldn't lie to yourself and pretend, well, I know they don't love me. When Virgo's like, I know that they did, but there might have still been lies here. There might have still been all kinds of problems, but Virgo's also been lying to themselves about how important this connection was, and the fact that there was love here. I just think Virgo is saying for themselves, I want to clear this energy of like, one thing in my life that I would have handled totally differently would have been this situation with this person. And it's bothered me ever since. This whole situation, the way I behaved, the way they behaved, all of this should have been different than what it was. And I just think that probably because Virgo is in Empress mode, Empresses and Emperors, they don't leave damage in their wake and destruction. They clean up their messes. That's the beautiful thing about this Virgo. This Virgo's, I'm not saying Virgo's like, oh, I should apologize to this person. They lied to me, but I owe them the apology. Oh, hell no. I am not somebody who ever is like, let's go be somebody's doormat. That's not what this is. This is a very specific kind of scenario where Virgo says, we both had some toxic traits, and there's things that I never understood about what happened, but I, for myself, I do wish I had handled it differently. It bothers me that I didn't. It stays on my mind. It's something I'd still like to address because I really want to move forward, footloose, fancy free, and fall into the arms of a happily ever after with an emperor, somebody I build an empire with. So this is basically just Virgo saying, I've totally looked at my own actions and behaviors, and I know how I would behave when I'm at my best. Once upon a time, I wasn't at my best when I dealt with somebody. And so I was part of some of the problem, at least. Can I see anything else about that card of lies, the Seven of Swords? Ten of Sacred Circles, sideways. Look, I don't think this is Virgo saying, I just still want to know, were they lying to me? Were they living with somebody else? Was there some other family? I don't think that that's what this is. I just think that Virgo may actually know in their heart of hearts that there was a lot of toxicity that maybe came from somebody trying to appease too many people all at once. And Virgo might be like, you know what? If somebody was trying to be with me, but then they were also, trying to make their family happy or whatever, things were kept a secret, but it had to do with something to do with family related things and abundance. And I think Virgo just really wishes that they could just have made it so that either this person could air it out, or that Virgo would have just seen it for what it was a long time ago. The Seven of Sacred Circles, I really keep feeling like Virgo is just saying, how I would have handled this differently today is if I dealt with somebody in the past that was being secretive about things. And I really never knew what that whole thing was. I think Virgo is able to look at it now and say, I know that person wanted to be with me. They were trying, even if they were only giving me 50% of what they should have, because there was obviously more to their life story. I think Virgo is finally being able to acknowledge somebody did love them for what it's worth. And I think maybe Virgo at the time was like, all I could see is that they lied to me about something, whatever it was. And then, it was just a kind of a dumpster fire after that. But the me that I am now, I would have maybe given it a little bit more time to evaluate, to maybe get to a place where we built more trust, to maybe get to the point where, well, I don't know how you build trust if somebody's lying about things, but either maybe Virgo jumped to a conclusion about certain things and said somebody was lying because they were only like giving 50% of energy. Maybe Virgo's like, I'm not sure that I ever knew what their full story was. It just says, look, an Empress tries to gather enough data before making a decision. And what I feel like this says is Virgo looks back and says, in the past, maybe I jumped to a conclusion without enough data. It still could be that Virgo's opinion would have been correct, but I'm saying Virgo is saying what I would do different though is I would make sure that I had the right data before I made the decision. And that's the only thing here. Virgos, simply because they're in such Empress energy, they're saying, what is the one thing I regret that I would have done different? Is something with this one person. I would have handled things differently with them. I would have maybe taken more time, more investment to figure out what was really going on. Even if there were lies, I still would have tried to get to the bottom of why, what's being withheld, and why is something withheld before making any like decisions or saying any particular thing. I don't think Virgo likes to feel like they kind of are like, I kind of wish I could say sorry for my role. Even if I was still correct, I still could have handled that better, different. This is not because Virgo's like, oh, I want to go back in time and I want that to tell myself a fantasy that this person really was great. It's more like Virgo just saying, I want to handle stuff better from here on out. Remember, Virgo's an Empress. Then I'll wind up with an Emperor. Let me go ahead and look at that person. Who is the person that lied? And what's going on for them right now? What is time in their life? Ace of Pentacles upright. Okay, so they've come to the end of a road in their life. They could be an earth sign themselves. Six of Swords, Two of Wands, and the Sun. They've been moving on or telling themselves that they're moving on from a very bumpy chapter of their life. I would say they continue to look at the path not taken. I feel like they think a lot about Virgo. I feel like they have a lot of clarity also themselves about things. Something has changed in their life. They are done with something. They have completed some journey. They have moved on, and now they long for happiness. Let me ask this. How do you feel about Virgo? Justice upright. Like I did Virgo wrong. I feel like I did Virgo wrong. That's so I mean, this is the person that we have the liar's card on, right? They're not pulling any punches about this. They could be a Leo, they could be a Libra. Because we have the Sun and we have the Justice. We have the Emperor. Oh my gosh. So is this time for a situation that wasn't handled right to be course corrected? Because there is a potential for Virgo and this person to end up together still. Is that what this boils down to? Let's go with this deck. Yes, High Priestess. And we have, scales here, almost like Libra scales, but it's a High Priestess card. There is a strong emotional desire for both characters to set this right. Like this was a dumpster fire and it shouldn't have been. But can I go back to, we're going to say him since he's shown up as an Emperor. So you lied to Virgo once upon a time. You finally are out of some kind of situation. You've come to the end of the road. You're having a new beginning. You've moved on from some chapter of your life, and you are longing for Virgo to be clear and to tell Virgo whatever happened. You want that. You want to be able to clear the air with Virgo, and you want to treat Virgo like the way an Emperor would treat somebody. What was the lie of the past? It's time that they tell Virgo all of this. Judgment. It's something that they feel could bring about like comprehension, reconciliation. Nine of Wands, or it's that the lie of the past is that they did reconcile with somebody. Nine of Wands, but there's all this wounded energy. Did they reconcile with someone right out from under Virgo? I mean, Virgo said they lied to me. They were still elsewhere. The Fool, we have the Ace of Cups. Whatever they lied about has to do with making a judgment call, They might have simply said, I was too wounded to be with Virgo at that time. I don't know what was going on in their world. Maybe they were having a meltdown. Maybe they were in crisis. Maybe they had, like other things that they were like, I have to fix this in me before I am brave enough to venture out. Maybe I've had a lot of things that I didn't take care of. I had accruing wounds, and I should have just been honest with Virgo and been like, I'm not fit to be in a relationship with anybody yet. I have to make a judgment call, which is I got to deal with something. Maybe they had a bad, coping mechanism at the time. Maybe they'd been suppressing things that needed to heal instead of working on healing things. And maybe what they showed to Virgo is like, oh, they were so ready for love. They were so ready for a relationship. They were totally, ready to move and travel and be with Virgo and build a relationship, when in fact that is not what it was. And they weren't honest about the fact that they needed to make that judgment call. Let me just check one more on that judgment card. 3 of Cups, though, I could still interpret this in 2 ways, and I'm kind of split right now. Maybe they did. Either they were still connected to another relationship, because this could have been a third party. They could have been like, because I was still really wounded and I had separated from somebody, but we weren't really like divorced yet, or I had separated from somebody, but I wasn't really out of their world yet. And yet I acted to Virgo like, oh no, I'm single. I can go anywhere. I'm in love with Virgo. I'm ready to love Virgo. When in fact, the truth of it was they were definitely not. They had their own wounds that would have made them maybe stay with at least one foot in another connection. And that's going to be a hard one to come back from if that's the case. Let me see. Was it a third party that you lied about? 7 of Cups and the Star. Something about they weren't sure what to do. There was, confusion. They needed to figure out what their real wish come true was. They needed to mostly heal, and they really needed time without anybody in their life. When I say was there a third party, this first card could have been like, well, they were unclear on what they wanted. But then this says, no, what they needed to do was just be single. They needed to get away from everything, everyone. I don't know if this was ever like, oh, I'm not sure if I want Virgo or somebody else. It looks more like they were very like downtrodden, but giving Virgo this vision that they were super empowered. They definitely gave a false version of themselves to Virgo. I'm single. I'm adventurous. I'm so ready for love. All of this is awesome. When in fact, I almost think that they were very defeated at the time. They weren't truly out of a previous relationship, and they were almost getting sucked back into it, almost for like a sense of apathy or just the lack of ability to really choose something for themselves, because they were actually still too much of a mess. And I think that's the part that was hidden. That's a lot to apologize for, and especially if this is just time to clear the air and set things right. Is there any potential? Are you hoping to end up with Virgo? Let me just ask. Is that what this is all about? Death card, yeah. They're hoping that they could have a new beginning with Virgo. Virgo just says, I'm ready for an emperor, and I want to close out a chapter with somebody. For Virgo, Virgo's ready to give love, passion, and again, be in a relationship. I don't know that there's a chance for it to be them, but we do have the butterfly wings, which could also represent transformation. If ever there were a chance to clear the air, to get to the components of what really happened and why certain things really happened, now is the time for that, because Virgo is ready for a long-term commitment, and this has been a stumbling block for them. But I'm not going to say that I think that this is like, oh, so then Virgo and this person can get back together. Honestly, it might just be to close out a chapter nicely and then move on permanently, but it might also be very cathartic for Virgo to hear from this person that there was actually a lot of love there. They feel like they did Virgo wrong. And I will say this, they wish that they could be Virgo's emperor, even if once upon a time they were too depleted to really stand on their own 2 feet. It does not mean that they didn't really love Virgo, and that is coming through this. All right, I'm going to leave this here. Thank you for being here. Bye.